Hi, everyone. Welcome to Impactathon Show. Today, we are talking with Rhonda Eldridge, and Rhonda and I had the chance to co-convene an Impactathon. So you're going to hear more about that and more about her really creative and interesting work in the social impact space. Rhonda, it's so good to have you on the show.
Great to be here as usual. Great to see you.
Great to see you. Yes. Do you want to introduce yourself a little bit and the
Sure.
work you do around HAP?
Sure. So I'm a finance professional. I have been in the alternative investment world for some 25 plus years, and always been very passionate about philanthropy and giving back. So worked, sort of volunteering with a lot of different organizations over the years. And since moving in a different direction from the finance space, I've become a social entrepreneur. And that's been the past, I would say, for HAP, or Harness All Possibilities. It started December 16th, 2016. So it's been a great ride, very interesting space to be in, but it's just jumping in, and literally it's a hustle, but it's a good hustle and I love it.
Yes, I love it. And you bring so much heart and like focus to what you do. And I think that's
Yeah,
through
I
all
love
of
it.
your
Yeah.
past work. So that's great. And there's a great story here. And you have to remind me if my memory is correct, but we first connected because you reached out and then you did a small group coaching, right?
Yes.
That was a
Yes.
while back. And
Yes.
then we kind of stayed in touch, and Rhonda and is so motivated by her work that she is like always like drop a line once in a while. And so I was coming to New York and we literally put this amazing kind of, this cool Impactathon in a way that came together, that
Yeah.
brought a lot of really unique people and together for an Impactathon. But that was like, we put it together in under 2 weeks, if I can
In
remember
under
correctly.
2 weeks, we had not met. We met the day before, I believe. We met, had coffee, and wine and pizza. I remember that. And we had the event on the Saturday. The streets were shut. Remember, we had street closures in New York City. Every single person showed up, and people even signed up the day of, and they're like, I just came across this and I thought I would show up. It was just amazing. Really, really great time.
Yeah. One of the concepts that we talked about in that Impactathon, and that was a unique one because it was about our career around impact, and it was about ikigai. So could you share a little bit about what that is and what drew you to that as kind of an operating system for what HAP is?
Correct. So I think that the best way to sum it up is that space of flow, where whatever you do is really aligned with your essence, who you are. And you could spend hours being in that space and you lose track of time. And it's where your creative energy is optimal. So, it's very simply finding something you absolutely love, you're good at it, the world needs it. And for those who really do need to take care of their, I would call their basic human needs, able to get paid for it. So that space where all of those things come together, that is that term. Some people call it drive, some people call it flow, some people call it your element, that thing that lights you up. And I found over the years that people who search for that and try to spend time with what that is, and it comes through meditation, it comes through quieting the mind, and maybe even watching what you do on a daily basis. And there is something that you absolutely get lost in. And if you could actually harness that, then you can harness all possibilities. And I think that may sound a little esoteric, it may sound a little out there, but I truly believe that is where we as humans are heading in this world of technology, and a lot of our skills are being disrupted or displaced. So that is what it is in a nutshell, I hope. I mean, it's a bit descriptive, but I think that it captures what we were talking about, what we were trying to do that day. Well, for me, I think the one thing I loved, and this is how I was attracted to your article. You were writing some really fascinating articles years ago. And what inspired you to write the article that talked about finding your tribe? You said, find your purpose, find your tribe. I mean, it was so aligned with what I was researching at the time. What was behind that particular article?
Wow, that's a really insightful question. It brings me back. I have to think back to what was going on at that time, and that was probably before you officially launched HAP, or maybe after. So
Correct.
it was a few years ago, and I think at that point been in the social impact space for a few years, and I realized, I think that this feeling that we want to support the whole space or everyone, it can actually make you feel like you're always failing. And today, to this day, I can sometimes I sometimes feel that way.
Right.
When you start supporting people, like when you find the people that will believe in you, it gives you focus, and it can let you even maybe get into some of the ikigai flow, that feeling. But when you're trying to support people, and if they're never going to be in your tribe, and that sometimes happens, and hopefully they will find their own tribe to be in, even within the social impact sector. There are people that will never be in my tribe or your tribe, but as long as they find a tribe. But there are people that will align with us for something, for some reason. What we're saying resonates with them, with maybe our life experience, our lens, our voice. And for those are the people that we create for and that we build for. And I think sometimes when we let go of the things, of the people that may not be aligned, instead of feeling like we are failing, it lets us free, it liberates us, and it gives them freedom to find their path, or, the people that they resonate with. So I think maybe I was probably coming from that depth of place and that reflection when I was writing about that, and how perfect, because that connected us, and it's been, it's been such there's been a flow in our connection.
I agree. And we've met, well, twice. We met before the event, we met at the event, and we spent some time at the end of the event really talking with some of the individuals who attended, and to hear some of their feedback. I mean, we had persons there with disabilities that they thought were disabilities, but actually they were really laser focused on certain things that other people didn't see. And we saw that during the event, actually. That was a real epic moment when that young lady realized she was so amazing, even though she thought she wasn't.
Yes, totally. I absolutely agree. And I love how in following your journey and path in the social impact kind of sector, I love how you play at the edges of your experience. So you have this deep experience in finance, this experience in kind of coaching, uplifting people to find their purpose. And then you kind of got into the cryptocurrency space, and
I did. Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
And so I would love to hear about, and for you to explain a little bit about the blockchain business school, and where how you see those kind of what could be like disparate dots, but you saw a connection. So how you connect those.
I saw the connection. Yeah. And I think the connection came through, it was such and people didn't talk about it. It was as if you were doing anything in crypto, and I'm not trading crypto, but I found that people were very hesitant to talk about it. So I again, from the finance space, I started working with a RegTech blockchain company, and started sort of blending that with HAP. And the first event I did, I think it was the second event I did, was on blockchain. And we had so many people who showed up, persons who were displaced in work, curious about what was going on. And there was a gentleman who traveled for 2 hours from New Jersey for a 7 a.m. meeting. And I'm like, well, why did you travel for so long? He said, because I was curious, and I feel this is something that's the next big thing. And so I started doing a lot of events, but what I found in doing those events, everyone is sort of looking for that next nugget, that next gold nugget. But I'm like, but there are so many people in the world who don't even know any of this is going on. They're disconnected. They don't have access and inclusion. So a few things happened. People, someone asked to collaborate, and I said, I will do that, provided that we actually do it with the underserved. And it started out with a collaboration in that way. And last year was probably, when you feel like something is preparing you for something bigger, the big pause of 2020 was that something, that something. And so that was inspired by sort of seeing that there were a lot of individuals who didn't know this was happening. And by the time they do know, it's just such a crowded space. It's sort of that, they call it, I think it's the second or third order effect. I think it was one of those kind of moments. And so for you, I mean, like when we met, we had a cohort, because we were talking about getting unstuck. And I think you pivoted so much during that time, because you were doing conferences. So how have you adjusted during COVID to, I mean, I see now your talk show, but what have been the things that you have really found opportunities for you to harness during the sort of the pause? I'm trying to find another word than a negative word of COVID. There you go. I said it. Sorry.
I love this idea of the pause because it's such a it's a reflection, like a, you know, and it kind of inspires that feeling. And I think for
Right.
me too, it made me think, what did I start this all with? Or what is the basics to come back to? And really,
Right,
Innovate
right,
Social
right, right,
started as a lot of content. You read a
right,
blog
right,
post.
right.
I was creating a lot of content, the podcast episodes and all of that. And I think when everything was uncertain all around, I have kind of
Right.
gone back to what is creation? What can I create? What can I create content wise? Or what can I kind of make or do or build? And I
Right,
think that,
right.
you know, that's kind of the energy that I connected with. And so, you know, it's that's where it started. And then figuring out other ways to make a meaningful impactathon virtual that is beyond a Zoom. So those are the
Correct.
things that I kind of went back to. And I think it was in that pause and reflection that I found
Right,
those things
right,
again, which
right,
actually,
right.
for me as a person, I find very fulfilling, you know, to create.
Yeah, and I think that when we did the blockchain business school in 2020, obviously you did a workshop for us, and I think for some of the kids, this whole word, they've heard of entrepreneurship and they've heard of probably social impact, but the words together, they were new words, right? There's that's a new marrying of words, and I think that again piqued curiosity in people. What is this space? And you know, they didn't realize that you can take your entrepreneurial ideas like you and I have and move yourself out of the professional areas. You know, that's what the world has said. Oh, be a lawyer, be an accountant, be a doctor. But at the end of the day, are those things really aligned with who we are? And, you know, empathy takes us to that place where you see that big problem. And I think that's what we were trying to sort of share with the kids, the business, but then hey, there's this other very fast growing, and you said it in I don't know if we message each other, but you said something like, this is our time as social entrepreneurs. And I thought that was really, because the social entrepreneurs were out there solving some of the big problems in the world during COVID. And I thought that was really sort of a light bulb for both of us and for many in this space.
Yeah, thank you. So my final question for you is,
Sure.
I really feel like we see ourselves as ecosystem builders. That's where I find a kinship also with you. And you're creating an ecosystem that in which others can thrive. And I think that's something really amazing. And as you look forward, how are you connecting the dots going forward with the work that HAP is doing in Blockchain Business School? And then how can other people be part of your journey and connect with you?
Right. So I think for us, when we looked at who would, you know, last year when we did the event, we looked at our ecosystem and we realized that people were stuck inside. So it was a great opportunity and started looking at what were the problems that we would be solving. And we saw the biggest problem in that ecosystem was that of education, but, you know, those families that didn't have devices. But then when you look at the devices, you have to look at the fact that they need data. And then if you looked a little further, you realize they may not even have electricity depending on their situation. So we started to look within I sat down and started to think about what would be a way to bring virtual learning. So the year before we focused on learn to earn, like how you can learn virtually to earn money. And then we added, or I thought it would be creative to add connect. And so when you connect to learn to earn, who would be the parties in the ecosystem, and how do you make sure that those parties help solve this problem of connectivity for those who are completely in the digital divide, and more so because of COVID? And put together a program to raise money, and the money was raised to do a number of different things. But what we made sure was that the money stayed in the community, like in the ecosystem. So if we did it in Jamaica, it stayed in Jamaica. It was raised and stayed in Jamaica, but also that, you know, HAP was able to be part of that entire ecosystem. So it was very humbling because we heard so many stories. Like the one that really stuck with me was a mother who had taken her child to pick up the device, and we had to do it pockets of ability to go out, and we had a great partner in Global Sun, and then in other countries we had other partners. But the mother just said, "Thank you so much." And I said, "Just curious, how old is your child?" And she said, he's 6. And so this is the first time since March of last year that he's been able to even have a device to go to school. And I realized that when you give that child the device, you also give that entire home the ability to go online, look for work, go online, and be connected to the rest of the world. So that was very touching, and that was one of many stories. And I know we may pass these individuals or pass their homes and never know that they were in that situation, you know? So it was very humbling to say, yeah, it was just leave it there, because I get emotional when I talk about it.
I love that. Well, thank you, Rhonda, for everything you do.
Oh,
I always love to, I'm glad that we are connected and we get a chance to co-create things together.
Yeah, it's been great.
Yes, and everyone definitely check out HAP and check out Blockchain Business School and get involved in whatever way you can.
And we will see each other hopefully in August again, and see you online there. Another workshop.
Looking
Thank
forward
you.
to it. Yes.
Bye, everyone.